At the beginning of the second of our two parshiot today, Parshat Pekudei, we begin with a recording of the precise amounts of donations that were brought for the construction of the Mishkan. The Medrash Tanchuma explains that Moshe found it necessary to have this public accounting because of people's murmurings and accusations against him. It's based on a pasuk earlier in Sefer Shemot, in Perek Lamed Gimel Pasuk Chet, where we read that when Moshe would go back to his tent, the people would stand and gaze at him, v'hibitu acharei Moshe, until he entered the tent. One view explained this to mean that the people looked in awe and admiration of Moshe. And yet there is another view which claims that the people looked at him with suspicion. They took note of his healthy, robust physique and charged that he enjoyed a rich diet paid for by the precious metals donated to the Mishkan. Moshe Rabbeinu wanted to respond to these charges by making a transparent accounting of all of the funds donated towards the building of the Mishkan and how they were used, so that people would realize that their suspicions were unfounded and their claims were absolutely wrong. And yet, you might wonder why, in the context of this discussion, did the Midrash find it necessary to mention both views regarding the explanation of the phrase "V'hibitu acharei Moshe," that people were gazing after Moshe. Seemingly, the explanation of the accounting that it works on an assumption that Moshe suspected, works on the assumption that Moshe was suspected of embezzling funds. But why did the Medrash include also the other view, that when people looked to Moshe, they looked at him with admiration and reverence? Of what relevance to this view is the explanation provided in the Midrash that Moshe Rabbeinu wanted to make sure that there was a transparent and precise accounting of all donations? If they weren't suspicious, why was that necessary? Rabbi Yehuda Leib Ginsburg of Denver, in his Yalkut Yehuda, suggests a fascinating reading of this comment of the Medrash, claiming that, in fact, the need for the transparent accounting was necessary for both views. Just as a leader has to respond to unfounded suspicion and criticism by presenting all of the relevant facts and details, just as Moshe had to respond to the suspicions of the people by saying, this precisely is what was given and this is how it was used, so too must a leader who has earned the faith and admiration, the respect and the trust of his followers ensure to confirm that trust and that respect by giving an accounting and making sure that people understand that he is always transparent. Moshe found it necessary to make this accounting according to both interpretations, whether the people looked at him with reverence or with suspicion. He bore the obligation, explains Rabbi Ginsburg, to confirm his integrity to the nation through a full disclosure of the Mishkan's accounting. And that's how Parashat Pekudei begins.